Benvenuto! Welcome to Cherry Hill Home Cooking. My name is Mark. The day that we're filming this is the first day of autumn 2023, depending upon when you're watching this, of course. All right, and the reason I mention that is that this is a recipe of my mom's, or I have no idea where she got it, but in any case, this is a dish that would often start in the fall and very often go through the autumn season and winter whenever we had turkey. So, between Thanksgiving and New Year's, there was always a couple turkeys made. So, and again, the reason I'm telling you that is because the real name of this recipe is New England Turkey Chowder. Now, over the years, I've changed it to New England Chicken Chowder because we eat chicken more often than we do turkey, and I've simplified it a little bit. But you could certainly make this an authentic chicken chowder, turkey chowder, by using turkey meat and turkey stock instead of chicken, which we're going to do today. And one other thing, Wade and I are both getting over nasty colds, so if you hear some coughing and turning our heads a bit, that's why. Also, we went to the Big E in Springfield last weekend, so that's why we didn't have a video, because we had an exhausting but wonderful full day at the Big E. So anyway, all right, our New England Chicken Chowder. This is easy and delicious. Is it easier just to open up a can of that? It's Rich and Hearty, I think it's called, which we love. Don't get me wrong. Wade actually really likes the clam chowder. I'm not a big clam chowder fan, but the thing is, this is easy to make. Is it the stuff in the can? Yes, it's good, but this is better. So what are we going to need? Now, one of the ways that I made this a little bit simpler than if I use turkey, and sometimes if I can get a roasted turkey breast at the supermarket or half of one, I will use that. Couldn't find that today. But so here I just have a rotisserie chicken from the supermarket. It's about, just about 4.5 pounds. Okay, now, this just makes this whole process easier. I'm not gonna cut this all up. You guys all have the idea. I'm gonna take the skin off and I'm gonna cut it into bite-sized pieces. That would be really messy to do on camera. All right, so the next thing we need is some red potatoes. Now, I would say use either red or yellow potatoes, a waxy potato, because you don't want your potatoes to fall apart. All right, so I've got these almost all prepared. And you want these kind of in bite-sized pieces. No less than bite-sized, because we want these to cook relatively fast. So, give them a good dice, about that big. And, 2 pounds, give or take a little bit. All right, before we go on to the other ones, I'm going to talk about our salt pork, because you need 6 ounces of salt pork. Now, in one of the very first recipes we ever did for the channel, it was our Boston baked beans, which has over 17,000 views, which makes me really happy. But it wasn't quite cold enough, my salt pork, and it had started to get a little soft, and it's difficult to cut. So I did throw this in the freezer for a little while for demonstration purposes. But anyway, the reason I say that is almost every single comment we got on that video was telling me to get a sharper knife. Now, I have some really, really sharp knives, but I don't like to use them on a plastic cutting board. So unless I get out my big old wooden board, I don't use the beautiful knives that Wade bought me. But you get the idea, guys. So you want to kind of cube them up small. And they're not actually cutting that much. So I hope 17,000 people hit the video, like it, and comment about my knife. That would be really nice. But it's funny, when we were first starting out, I've gotten a thicker skin since then. Everyone I would see that told me to sharpen the knife, it would be like a knife in my heart. But anyway, so we want to cut them up into little cubes. And we're going to actually get them in our pan as Wade drops on my beautifully placed ingredients. Now, some salt pork comes and it's got a heavy, it's packed heavy with the salt. The kind that I get isn't, but if it's got a lot of salt on or around it, you want to rinse that off. All right, so we're going to get this in the pan because this takes probably the longest of putting everything together. So I've got a pan here heating up, and so we want to get that browned, and it's going to render the fat. All right, so we'll go on with the rest of our stuff while we wait for that to cook. All right, the next thing, we need about 1/4 of a cup, 1/2 a cup of celery. 3-4 stalks, all right? And again, we want to try to cut that in little chunks, because the celery, it is going to saute with the onions and stuff, but sometimes the celery will take the longest to cook. So if you chop it up into nice little pieces, little dice, it will cook faster. I wanted to have a little tiny bit of texture on it, but you don't want to put a spoonful of your soup in your mouth and have it crunch. Same thing with the onion. We're just gonna, now with this you want a sweet onion. So if you can get a Vidalia or a sweet yellow onion, that's good. And then you're gonna need at least one large, all right? And we're gonna use, lost my train of thought. Oh, we need 1.5 cups roughly. Again, a little bit less, a little bit more is not gonna spoil the recipe. And I'm just gonna try to keep that together and cut it into cubes, dice.
Do it again.
You did. But that's all right, we love you, so we'll forgive you. All right, guys, so I'm gonna probably end up with roughly about 2 cups of veggies in there. Again, give or take. I love onions, so how did that piece of skin get in there? All right. So we went over our potatoes, we got our onions and our celery, and our chicken. So we're gonna make a nice roux with this and make this thick. So we need 1/2 cup of flour, and we need 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Again, you can use salted. As you can see, I'm not gonna put a lot of salt in this. I'm only gonna put the salt in when we taste it at the end, because the salt pork is salty. The stock might, this is not my homemade stock. I don't know how much salt it's made with. So as far as seasoning, we need some dried thymes. I use 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme and 1/2 teaspoon of white pepper. Now, you don't have to use white pepper. If you don't have white pepper, don't go run out and buy it. Use black pepper. The reason you use the white pepper in this is because it's a cream-based sauce, and you don't get little black flecks in your finished product. White pepper is also a little bit hotter than black pepper. Like I said, we're gonna need 8 cups, so 2 quarts of whatever your favorite chicken stock is, or if you want to take the time, you can go look on our channel, and we have this is, see how is it? Broth, all right? But if you, and you use broth when you're using it like that, opposed to stock. I mean, stock is something that you make homemade. I don't know the exact terminology between the two of them is, but in this case, it's chicken broth, okay? And as I started to say, you could also make it from scratch. We have a nice video on our page to make your own homemade turkey and chicken. And I think, do we have turkey and chicken, right, hun? And I think we have beef stuff on there too, yeah. Right? Yeah. Now, of course, the calories come in. We need a quart of 1/2 and 1/2. All right, and Wade's favorite thing, one of Wade's favorite things is oyster crackers. He loves oyster crackers in soup, and this is the garnish my mother always used with this oyster crackers. So we're going to use that as garnish. So as I'm waiting for this to continue to brown, we're going to cut for a minute, and we'll put our stuff away. And I could turn that up a little bit, or else it's going to take forever, because I had heated it up good, but I turned it down so it wouldn't sizzle too much. So in the meantime, I'm going to prepare my chicken. And again, guys, you all know how to just You got a rotisserie chicken. Take all the meat off it and chop it all up, white and dark. All right, we'll be back in a little bit. All right, our salt pork is beautifully golden brown and delicious, and rendered. Wade expertly took apart our chicken. He really knows how to pull a chicken apart. Thank you, hon. All right, I'm gonna turn the heat on this up just a little bit to medium on this. And we're gonna add our celery and our onions. And we're gonna saute them. And yes, you leave the baking pan in there. Oh, by the way, speaking of bacon, you could use bacon in this if you don't want to use salt pork. You could even use, if you want to cut down on meat that you're consuming, you could even use substitute bacon and just add. So I would add, if you're going to do that, I would add, substitute that, those sizzlers, the bacon strips that kind of have that bacon flavor. Or you could even use turkey bacon if you don't want to cook with pork. And I'd add about 2 additional teaspoons of butter.
Bacon bits.
No, you can't use bacon bits. No. Well, I suppose you could if you want to just get that flavor, but I'm trying to get bacon bits, or I don't know, yeah, bacon bits might not even be real, or made with bacon, so I was trying to give them an alternative. And of course, you could do this stew, or this chowder completely vegetarian. Don't use chicken and use vegetable stock, but then what would it be? I'm not even sure what we would call it anymore. So I'm going to turn those up a little bit more, and we want to saute these till our onions and our celery just get a little bit soft, and that's probably going to take a good 5-10 minutes, guys. Of course, I'm not going to put the water. I've got those potatoes in water just so they don't get brown, but I'm going to strain the water out before we add these to our pot. All right, I'm going to let those saute for a bit, and like I said, it'd be really boring just to watch that. So, unless Wade wants to continue recording, you can watch it for 10 minutes. See you in 10 minutes. All right, our onions and celery and salt pork have been sauteing for about 10 minutes. It smells delicious and it looks good enough to eat. So our next step is I'm going to throw in our 4 tablespoons of butter. And we're going to let that melt. Turn that up a bit. Won't take long. So what we're going to do, once we got our butter melted, is we're going to make a roux. So we have a beautiful, thick stew. And I'm on about medium-high on the heat. And then really, believe it, guys, we only have a couple more steps. And we're going to have a delicious supper. I'm going to do a little green salad, and we've got some garlic knots to go along with this. Nice crusty bread would be nice as well. All right, so put all our flour in and get it moving around. So of course your goal with this is you just want to get that floury taste cooked away, and that's going to take about 2-3 minutes. It's going to get thick. Don't let that bother you. That's what we want. So get all your butter mixed into the fat. And you'll tell because, I guess, if you've never smelled raw flour, give it a smell. And as soon as that raw flour smell goes away, you know everything's absorbed. got my tomatoes ready. So once this is done, we're going to actually put this aside. We're not going to use this quite yet. Also, you tell it will start to get a little brown. The flour will start to lose that pasty look to it, and it'll just slightly brown. All right, and I think that's good. Give it another 30 seconds or so. Oh, look at all these ones that have fallen on the counter. Oh, it's delicious. That beep is because I'm lifting it off the surface of the burner thing. All right, that is good. I'm going to turn that off so it doesn't beep as we go on to our next step. All right, so we're going to put that aside. All right, I got our potatoes that I have strained of the water, and I'm going to empty in our chicken stock or chicken broth. All right, and we want to put this back on the heat. We want to get this boiling. I'm going to turn that up to high. And then another 4 cups. All right, so what you want to do is you want to bring this to a boil, and I guess we can cover it. It'll bring it to a boil a little faster. So you want to bring the liquid to a boil, and then we want to cook our potatoes till they're fork tender, and that'll probably take about 10 minutes. We'll come back when it's at a boil. All right, our potatoes have come to a boil. I just wanted to demonstrate that we wanted to come to a boil. Okay, of course our potatoes have been cooking while it's been coming up temperature, but then we're going to add our pepper and our thyme. Stir that in. I'm going to turn it down just slightly to a really high simmer. All right, and we're going to let that cook for until the potatoes are tender, and that should take about another 5 minutes. All right, see you then. All right, our potatoes are fork tender. All right, so our next step is we're going to add our roux in. I don't know, you guys can see it's thick and pasty. That's the way it should be. All right, don't think, oh no, that's not right. And we want to stir this around. Now, very shortly, this is going to start to thicken everything up. I've got my chicken over here. And I don't know if you can tell, but it has already started to thicken. I'm still right now on a medium high. And you want to just keep stirring that for 30 seconds or so. Till everything gets, and you'll see there's no lumps. No lumps, no bumps. We got a beautifully smooth, thick broth. And just about when you think it's too thick, it's perfect. Well, I think that's pretty good. We'll let it just quickly come back to a simmer there. I don't know if I mentioned, during our, I'm sure I did, that if you don't want to use salt pork, or if you don't have salt pork, use 6, 7, 8 slices of bacon. Did I mention that? I don't remember. All right. couple times during the shooting I said tomato instead of potato, but Wade will put a nice caption over that. I said to him, I said, yeah, I put on there some Mark loves tomatoes. That's all I thinks about. But it's potatoes in every circumstance in this video. If I say tomatoes, I mean potatoes. Yes, right? Yeah, that's right. All right, that looks nice to me. It's going to continue to thicken a little bit more as we bring everything else up to temperature. But now we're going to turn it down to just say, let's say medium low. Okay? And before I do that, I'm going to give it a quick taste. I don't think it needs any more salt. Might not be salty enough for somebody else, but I would say add some salt. Let them add some salt at the table if they need it. All right. And I'm going to slowly pour our cream in while stirring, or half and half. We'll give it one other quick taste after we put our chicken in, but right now I think it's salty enough, but the cream will bring down the salt taste a little bit. All right, and in goes all of our chicken or turkey, depending upon what you're using. And that is really it. We just want to bring this up to temperature. Let it slowly heat up. Make sure your chicken is all heated through. And on medium low, I would say that's going to take about 5 minutes. All right, we'll see you when it's dinner time. Well, as always, the best part of cooking is eating.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. We got a nice green salad. We've got some garlic knots. Don't forget your
Oyster crackers.
You can see how nice and thick we've come. And, oh, it looks delicious.
It's gotten even thicker since you took it out.
Yeah, after you dish it up, it is going to naturally become a little bit thicker as it starts to cool down. You ready?
I'm ready.
Great. Oops, I got too much crackers in there. Let's see.
That is good.
Isn't that tasty?
The chicken and nice and creamy.
Nice and creamy, and it's the sweet onions, the sweet onions, the young onions give it a tiny bit of sweetness.
That is delicious.
It's just a nice, warm or cold rather comfort food. Delicious.
Very good.
So you pair it up with a nice green salad, and I think you've got a nice meal. Well,
very nice.
don't have to add the garlic bread. In this case, we got garlic knots. Because I went to Aldi today, of course, bought everything in the store. Well, that's all I have to say at the moment. Oh, those garlic knots are good.
Well done? Please.
Oh no, I'm not done. Wait a minute. I hope that you enjoyed watching us mix up it tonight. Please, if you make it, let us know. No, I'm done for the moment.
Please like and subscribe and check out cherryhillhomecooking.com. See you in the next video.
Ciao.
Bye.
Oh, it's so delicious. Good.
It's good.